my name is Adam and welcome to the Week 2 lap guide of Advanced Mazda. This week is at Virginia, so let's have a look at the hot lap. So as we head into turn 1 here, this first corner is actually quite tight. It's probably the main overtaking opportunity of the entire track. You want to brake quite hard. The braking point is just this 2 board here. And quite hard on the brakes initially, up to around 70%. And you want to keep that all the way until you start turning. So we start turning in about here, and that's where we want to start bleeding off the brakes. And then we can just bleed off slowly as we approach the apex here. You want to maintain quite a bit of brake until you hit the apex, and then slowly get on the throttle. And you want to keep quite a tight line all the way through here. If you do go a bit too early on the throttle, you're going to run out wide, and you're just going to lose time. So you want to keep it quite tight. You want to keep this tight line all the way through, and then heading into this double left here, you want to actually miss this first apex a bit. You want to have about 1.5 to car width to the apex, and that's just to get a straighter line into this next left-hander. If we go too tight, we're gonna have the car pointed a bit to the right as we enter here, and that's gonna give us a worse entry. So you wanna miss the apex a bit. You start to brake just as the tarmac changes here a bit, and a bit softer on the brakes here. You wanna trail just very lightly on the brakes until about here, and that's where you wanna go on throttle quite early. And we can use the curb quite a lot, and also on the exit here, we can use all of the track. We go almost into the grass here, and that's just to help us carry even more speed through the corner. And into this sort of tight left-right section here, we once again brake just after this little tarmac change. Slightly harder on the brake than the corner before, but we're still kind of turning and braking at the same time, so we need to be a little bit lighter. And we carry the brake almost into the apex. Use lots of curb here on the inside to open up the entry for the next corner, and go on throttle early. For this double right here, we can almost go flat in this first right. You might have to lift a bit. It can help stabilize the car a bit if you lift. So maybe in quali you can take it flat, but in the race you will most likely have to lift to help save tires. But you can use quite a lot of curb. As you can see, I have 2 wheels on the curb here. Which, if you do take it flat, you will most likely end up quite far to the left here. And that's going to open up the entry to this right as well. Which is quite similar in that you can take it flat. I think I took it flat here, yes. But in the race you might have to lift, depending on fuel load and tire wear and stuff like that. And then up the hill here, quite straightforward, should be flat all the way through. Also up here should be flat in the dry. And then this fast left here can be a bit tricky. My braking point is where the rubber starts here. Quite light on the brake and early on the power. You can use the curb here on the inside. It helps you open up the radius a bit. And also on the exit you can use some curb. What you don't want to do is go too early on the throttle, so you end up in the grass. So just try to practice that, where you can get on the throttle and get away with only ending up on the curb and not in the grass. As we brake into this double right here, the braking point is once again just after the two board. And this is quite a hard braking zone. About 60%. And we carry that brake way deep. This is almost like, you can almost treat it as one corner. Not quite in this car, but it's almost like two corners. We release the brake a little bit between the corners. And then get back on the brakes here just to get the car turned in. This exit here is very crucial because there's a long straight following it. So we need to go early on the throttle. I already start going on throttle here. And use all of the track on exit. Almost going out into grass. And then it's quite a long run. Heading up into this left-hander here. And this is where you actually want to brake quite late. My braking marker is at the one board right here, or just after. And we want to go really hard on the brakes initially. Then we start to turn for this left-hander, where we want to release the brakes a bit. And then go hard on the brakes again, as we enter this right-hander here. So that's a bit easier to see in Delta, so let's have a look at it in Delta. So as we take a look at this corner in Delta, you can see that I'm initially going quite hard on the brakes. And as we start to turn into the corner, I release the brakes quite a lot, down to, you can see there 20% as a minimum. And then as we go back to being straight, we can actually go back on the brakes quite a lot. So as you can see here, I'm back up to 65%. And then we bleed off again as we enter the corner. So let's go back to the track. And then as we enter this right-hander here, we want to bleed off the brakes and go on throttle about at the apex, so around about here. And we want to try to keep it quite tight. But you can use most of the track on exit. I position my car about here, so basically at all the way to the left. And then this section should be flat. If you do go on throttle too early, then you're not going to be able to take this flat because you're going to have too tight of a line. So that's something to be wary of. But just find your balance, essentially. You can use quite a lot of track in this car, given that it's quite low power. This, as I said, should be easily flat. And here, you want to start to brake almost as you hit this curb. You want to use lots of curb on the left to open up the radius for the right-hander. You can even go into the grass with two wheels if you wish, to open up the corner even more. I didn't do it on this lap, but that's something you can do. And as I said, the braking point is just as you hit this curb. So I start to brake here. And you can go up to about 40% brake right for a very short moment before you have to bleed off as you enter this right-hander, where you would want to go on the throttle about at the apex. Something to be careful of here is not to go too early on throttle, because you will end up probably going into the grass on the left. This was about as early on the throttle as you can get without using too much track on exit. It can kind of suck you out this corner if you go on throttle too early, so that's something to be wary of. You can also keep it tighter here without really losing any time. It's sort of the same thing time-wise, going tighter or taking this line that I took here. But the main thing is to try to carry as much speed onto this straight as possible to have a good run into turn 1. And then we just keep it tight all the way up to the start-finish line, and that's a lap of Virginia. If you want my setup, you can find it on Coach Dave Delta. If you're looking for any help at all, setup related or Coach Dave related otherwise, you can find it on our Discord. And more hot laps and lap guides can be found on the Coach Dave YouTube channel. See you next week.